What's up, guys? Sam here, and I'll be doing the free video for Friday, January 5th, 2024. So the market's finally had a down week. We had gotten so used to a very easy market going up, 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 and the new year has not necessarily been kind to particularly tech stocks. Some stocks have done well, banks, things like that, but the beloved tech stocks have not done too great. So what I wanted to do here is basically just give you a snippet of what we covered in the premium video for the folks in the gold room, and that is a view of SPY and a view of the QQQ. The reason I want to focus just on the indexes with you today is just because pretty much everything that you're trading, I imagine, is going to be determined by the indexes, especially if you're in tech, right? Especially if you're in anything that's mega cap tech, that certainly will be the case. So I'm going to show you the signal here on SPY to start with, and then I'm going to show you what I'm looking for as an if this then that statement going into next week. So thanks to the handy dandy labels here that I have made, let's kind of work from left to right. So if we look at the SPY weekly, and also keep in mind the max score is 35. So the max score is 35, max score on price is 15, max score on trend is 10, and max score on thrust is also 10, for a total of 35. So as we look over here at the weekly chart, we have a max bull with a score of 35. If we look at the daily chart, we have a max bull with a score of 35. We get down to the hourly chart, and keep in mind, if anything will change here on the daily, it has to happen here on the hourly first. It always happens from the inside out. On the hourly chart, we have a neutral with a red score of -10. So a little bit of issues from the inside out that could then affect the larger time frame. So what do we need to see? Well, to start next week, we need to see a fix of the 1 hour chart here on SPY. What will that look like, and how will the process take place? You had sell signals up here, and that would have got you out somewhere in this range. And those sell arrows have not corrected to the upside, right? So you can see that it's just giving you nothing but sell signals the whole way down. You're down here in the doldrums, but you don't yet have a reversal arrow. That will happen first. If you happen to have the high-low pro, you can look for that to happen with your arrow. If you have the ready aim fire, I think you can use that. If you have a slow stochastic, just slow it down even more, at least a 20 period, and you can look for an hourly crossover as a start. The second thing that will happen is your trending indicator should go positive, whether that's a MACD, whatever it is, whatever you use, should go positive. Last and only last will the moving averages, that's the 21 and the 50, start to correct themselves. As we sit, this is a bearish orientation with a 50 on top of the 21, and the 21 acting as resistance the whole way down. It hasn't even tested the 50, which is up here. So that's the process. You need thrust first. Think of it like flying a plane, right? Before you can get the plane 30,000 feet in the air, and it's just kind of easy to glide through the air. You need to be on the runway and get that thrust off the runway, right? Once you've got the thrust, then it's a plane that's in the sky. You look for your trend, and then and only then do you look for your structure to change on SPY. Let me show you the same thing here on the Qs. I've spent a little bit more time than I maybe needed to there on the SPY, just because everything that we looked at on SPY will apply to the Qs. But the Qs are in a slightly worse condition, which is rare. But I guess given what interest rates are doing, it does make sense. So if we look at the Qs, let's follow the process, right? Let's always be process driven. Left to right, do we have a problem here on the weekly chart on the Qs? I would say no. It's a perfect score. On the daily, do we have a problem? Not really. It's still a bullish score, but notice it's not the same as SPY. What makes it different? SPY did not have any of this. You see how you have 4 sell signals there from the last 4 days? And you also see the contrast between those sell signals and these buy signals here from October. So that's a big change there relative to the SPY. But overall, the chart still rates out as bullish. So where's the problem here on the Qs? It's identical to SPY. It's right over here. It's a neutral chart, -12. So problem from the inside out. don't need to cover the process again because it's exactly the same. You had thrust signals up here. That would have got you out. You get the gap down, the big flush. There's been absolutely no signs to buy. But what you look for next week to start the week on the Qs and on the SPY and on the IWM, pretty much everything, is going to be an hourly thrust signal from your range-bound indicator, followed by a trend cross signal, and then lastly followed by price structure changing. So that's what I'll be looking for. If I don't happen to see any of these things, there's nothing to do, or you would look to short, right? Because if the status quo does not change, then you just go with the status quo, which is, at least as of right now, from the inside out on the Qs and on the SPY, is a short-term bearish downtrend. However, if I start to get thrust signals there on SPY and the Qs, then I would start to look for higher with a very eager eye to get out on the first sign of trouble. So that's the way I'm going to be playing it next week. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Before you go somewhere else on the YouTube, leave us a like, leave us a comment, just to help us out with the algorithm. It does go a long way, so we appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys next Friday. Cheers. Hey traders, this is Sam with Simpler Trading. I want to thank you for watching today's video. Hopefully you found the information in it helpful. If you did, leave us a like, leave us a comment. It really does help us out with the algorithm. And if you want to see us trade live with our own real money and be part of the community, come and check us out at simplertrading.com.